Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Conversation with Alexia Landa. This week, we're really going to focus on judgment, feelings, intuition, and fear. And for the first time ever, I actually wrote down what I wanted to focus on because the past week, I got all these messages, channeled messages that come from my guides that they were really focused on what's going on collectively. And those are the four things that people are connecting to the most. So I'm going to help everyone understand how they're used as a tool and what to connect them to instead. My voice sounds a bit different. I've been sick for the past 2, 3 days, so sorry about that. I almost didn't record, but I'm so excited to be back that I was like, no, it's okay. I'm meant to have this voice right now. It's meant to be for a reason. Everything is divine timing, and I feel good. I actually feel good. I slept all day yesterday, and today I feel better, so hopefully tomorrow will just be easier. And I'm just excited to be here and talk about these things because the energy is showing a lot of judgment. And judgment has a lot to do with thinking that we should know right from wrong before learning, before going through the process. And also, if you're very connected to victimization and you like to live in the rhythm of victimization, then everything that happens around you, you're going to find something that is bad. So you have to learn how to use the tool focus. What am I focusing on? On what I'm receiving and how that's a blessing, or am I focusing on the lack? Because when you receive something, there's always going to be lack on the other side of things because it's a balance. So when I talk about non-duality, not living in duality, it doesn't mean that there's no negative or positive. What it truly means is that you start flowing in life without needing to control what's negative and positive, and you make everything enough. You make everything be divine. You give things meaning, you give things purpose. We're not here to receive purpose, we're here to give it. And when we give it, then we give it to one another. Kind of like me sitting down here speaking, you all give me purpose by listening, which I'm so grateful for, by the way. Extremely grateful. I was thinking about that. I was like, I speak for like an hour and people listen, and I just have so much fun channeling and truly sharing what I know that it's just divine. The people that listen to this, it's just divine to me. It really brings in a lot of happiness and a lot of fulfillment for me. So you all give me purpose. And the reason why that can be possible is because I give things purpose. And purpose starts with intention. It starts with getting to know that inner team, that feeling, that emotion, that consciousness, why you're doing things. Not to do things just because there's a certain format or you were told to do things a certain way, but rather understanding how it will fulfill you to be able to give fulfillment to others, to be able to connect to purpose, to be able to connect to that inner team of what you're reflecting. That's why the saying of if you're happy, everyone around you is happy, because if you're not happy, then you're going to give them that vibration of sadness or whatever it is. And that's also divine. It doesn't mean it has to always be happiness, but you can be sad and still feel the peace within because you have that connection with yourself. And that connection with self, that connection with that inner peace has a lot to do with letting go of self judgment that truly almost always translates to the judgment of others. Because when you feel judged, you will look for reasons why you're not wrong, and you will look for reasons as to, well, they do it as well, or I learned it from them. So again, the finger is pointed outwards instead of inwards. And judgment, we have to understand we're not here to be judges. We're not. We're here to be fractions of light that are, we're learning how to use this fraction of light. How am I supposed to use all this energy that is given to me? And the more you get to know yourself, the more you get to tap into even more energy. And you understand that energy is immense, it's unlimited. And this fraction of light of God is truly to be shown at its highest potential. But when there's judgment, there's limitations of the good and bad, of the it should or should it be this way, that you start putting yourself into certain types of boxes. And these boxes limit you. And when you're about to go through change, it's almost like, wait, no, I can't do that because I judged it before. I said I would never do that. I said I would never go through that. I said, so it's all these I said, I thought, everything, all these rules. And self judgment has a lot to do with expectations and frustration. And expectations means that you do think you know it all or you know best, without accepting that being a student means that as you are going through a transformation, as you are going through a learning process, as you are going through growth, you don't know it all. You don't know everything yet, and you're not supposed to. That's evolution. So instead, you use the tool of feeling, and you feel and you say, here and now, this feels right. Here and now, this is giving me a result that I see that is compatible with me, that is balanced, that helps everyone around me, because at the end of the day, we are a collective. And this also shows that you stop being so responsible of people's emotions and feelings. Because when there's a lot of judgment, usually it has to do with you um, having given someone else the responsibility of your emotions and your feelings. And that has to do with the wound of childhood, an inner child that is still wounded, still carries some sort of trauma, and says, well, it's because I didn't have a mom who took care of me, I didn't have a dad who did this, I was abandoned. So it's all these over identifications with certain type of things that happen in your life, instead of giving it purpose and meaning and going through the feeling and nurturing the feeling and saying, okay, well, I am here to change lineage. So if dad abandoned me, then why do I keep abandoning myself? How am I abandoning myself? And then you start understanding that it's not to point the finger outwards, it's to point the finger inwards. And you start understanding, oh, okay, so if I judge him, I'm judging myself as well. Because if I'm asking for someone to not abandon me, then how am I abandoning myself? Well, maybe I'm abandoning my feelings, my emotions, my needs, because I want everyone else to give them to me instead of myself. So you start understanding that the tool responsibility when it comes to feeling, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that it's not going to move something in you and you're almost like, yep, I know everything. No, it just means that you're going to learn how to nurture what is needed instead of going very external for the wants. Because the wants, abandonment is going to say, I really want a partner. I really want that new house, that new car. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all want those things. But the intention, the drive is what matters. You can want it, but why do you want it? You can want it, but what's the why is the drive, and the why is going to give direction to that energy, and it's how it's going to be co-created. Is it going to be co-created with lack, or is it going to be co-created with a lot of abundance because it's nurtured? So judgment is always going to be lack. And usually, when you say, I don't understand, you're almost asking to understand, so you're going to get the lesson back. And you're going to learn what the other person had to go through. So it's just a reminder that we're not here to be judges towards ourselves or others, but rather give that responsibility to what's guiding us, which is that fraction of light, which is that light that comes from a whole, which is God, because we are being guided. We're not here just sitting down and saying, okay, I have full blown responsibility. The thing is that it's usually very difficult to hear the things we don't want to hear, because that means that change is necessary. That means that maybe we have to stop being so stubborn at certain things. Maybe feeling is uncomfortable. But we're not here to be comfortable. We're here to understand how to use this fraction of light in the best way possible, because we're students of energy. That's why it's an emotional world. We're in the world of emotions, of energy in motion. So we come down here and we're like, okay, how am I going to learn to use this energy at its highest potential to bring in and create a pattern, because patterns aren't bad, but create a pattern that is for the greater good of all of us. And it starts with me, how I take care of myself, how I take care of my inner team, how I pay attention to myself. So in reality, the responsibility starts with you. And then we have this other side of intuition versus fear that can come in as frustration. And I bring this topic up because I am part of a world of speaking of spirituality, which I love. I love being part of it. I love being part of a community where people want to go through self discovery, heal, embody the healing, and just expand their wings. I love it. I truly do. I just do differ in certain ideologies, which I agree to disagree in many of them, because spirituality is very simple. Spirituality is about being in your simplest form, a fraction of light, so that you understand what peace is. What is that inner peace? If we go searching, we're co-creators. We're going to create anything we want to create. So if we want to talk about um, other, how can I say it? Just the forces that can move us and the forces that can trigger us, there's going to be unlimited sources. Like I say, the universe is a mirror. So it truly understands that we're co-creators. So whatever we create, it's going to happen. But you get to choose in what vibration you're going to live. When I say vibration, it means you get to choose in what perspective, what mindset, and what you want to connect to. This doesn't mean that what the collective does doesn't affect you. It does. We still need to learn about politics. We have to bring our fraction of light into politics. We have to bring our fraction of light into everything, finance, everything out there. Everything, because that fraction of light is what's going to move things. So if we are actually in the spiritual awakening, if you are in the healing journey, it's not about being in a cocoon where no one sees you and you don't have to use your tools. It's about understanding that once you embody them, you got to practice them with everyone, so that you can become that lighthouse that people start connecting to see the light, to see what is the highest potential of that fraction of light that you are, to see what authenticity is, to see how spirituality truly can be so simple. So when it comes to intuition and fear, I I want to say that intuition is the tool of understanding feeling. A feeling is always going to tell you what the energy around is. But we have to understand that there are many possibilities, so it can change. And two, that we should never connect it to an opinion. Because once you connect it to an opinion, then you're adding your energy to it. And if it's a scenario that doesn't involve you, you're almost giving it energy without the need to. Intuition is not fear. A lot of people have many fears that if they constantly repeat them, it doesn't mean they co-create what's going to happen. There's just things that are going to happen. I have clients who've told me, my intuition told me I was going to, I don't know, lose my car keys. And I was like, isn't that your fear on a daily basis? That you might lose your keys? So maybe you're connecting to losing your keys. So let's go further down the line. Why is losing keys a fear? And how can we heal that? Because in reality, that's not intuition, that's a fear. And fears are there to call in what you need, to tell you what you need, to tell you what you need to be paying attention to tell you what not to avoid. Well, I just fear that I won't be able to run away one day if I need to. That's why I can't lose my car keys. Okay, well, let's look at what happened. Well, maybe in the past life you had to run away, you didn't have a car, you didn't have safety, you didn't have a way to run. So now it's something that you carry with you, but that's not intuition, that's a fear. So I want everyone to be very mindful of their fears and then not fear that because you have a fear, you're going to co create something. Because right now, the whole intuition and fear, it's very mixed. And in reality, intuition is very subtle, it's very unexpected. Being able to read it, it's almost like, oh, I knew and I wrote it down. I just didn't know how to express it maybe because it wasn't very loud. So intuition is subtle. It's not loud, it's not a fear, it's not connected to fear. So you have to be very mindful what you're connecting to. Because yes, down the line you could co-create it. I don't think it happens as fast. I don't think it's something that really affects everyone, but it has happened. So you have to know what you're focusing on, why you're paying attention to those things. Because our emotions, the energy in motion, energy is currency. So what you focus on grows. And you have to understand that you're a billionaire. Energetically, everyone's a billionaire. A fraction of, even more, a fraction of light of God is expensive. So, whatever your mindset is, to create a new pattern, you really have to go through what you're judging, what you're feeling, what your fears are, and what you almost all the time focus on intuitively. Do you always focus on wanting to know the future? Do you always focus on trying to read people right away? That kind of says you just lack trust. You don't trust anyone, so you don't trust yourself. So, truly, spirituality is simple. It's not about being prepared, it's about understanding that you have a toolbox, which sounds contradicting, by the way, now that I say it out loud. I'm gonna say something, it's gonna sound contradicting, but I want to emphasize what I mean. So, you have a toolbox, you have a foundation, it's activated with tools. What can you exchange judgment for? Free will. Everyone has free will. And everyone's on their own path. Feelings are meant to be there. And sometimes they're going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's just how it is. It's just showing you how strong you are. It's just showing you a new side of you. So get to know yourself deeper. Intuition is a tool that's going to be very subtle and it's not to be used truly for safety. Intuition is mostly to be guided within your spirit, that fraction of light. Where should I take this light? Where should I not take it? How can I use it? Okay, right now they're talking. Okay, silence is also a form of communication. Fear is a tool that is guiding you towards what to work on, what to focus on, what you need to nurture, what you need to feel and be okay with feeling and understanding. Now, this toolbox might sound like, oh, I'm prepared if anything happens, but in reality, it's just you activating your full potential. It's like inside of you. which truly it's all around you, it's huge. There's these light bulbs that start turning on every time you activate a tool, and it just gets clearer and clearer and clearer. You see things just by the truth. And there's always truth. And the truth is the intention. That's what truth is. Intention. The intention in which you do things is always going to be the result. Intention. So you can convince yourself of something very different. You might want a little bit of control. Okay. But choose control wisely. The tool of control has a lot to do with having that toolbox activated, having habits that you can go to, having a routine if that's what makes you feel good, having everything that is physical that is connected to your inner team, because it's getting the strength from your inner team. It's kind of like when people talk to me about crystals and quartz, which I have crystals and quartz. I love them. I just understand that it's a collaboration. It's not that they do something that I don't do. It's a collaboration. I need to give them energy. I need to give them intention. I need to use the fraction of light of God. Just like they have their own fraction of light, because they have essence, they have life. But it's a collaboration. It's not, oh, you come in, I have a crystal, now everything's going to happen. No, we have to take responsibility in what we do and how things move. And that's how we understand that as a collective, we are collaborating. So maybe we need to learn how to collaborate as well, be a good team. Now, what to do with emotions? When it comes to judgment, the tool of judgment is very connected to emotions of almost like feeling like you cannot control those emotions. Like I feel anger, I feel frustration, I feel all these things. That those two are usually connected. It's feeling out of control. When you have those very high pitched emotions, it's a certain type of rhythm in which you're vibrating. It is a vibe you are in. And that has to do with the mind and it has to do with the feeling. So, whenever you go through these emotions, instead of going against the emotion, like going against the current, you have to think that you are on a boat and you're swimming, or not swimming, but sailing towards a lighthouse. And the lighthouse is kind of giving you direction, right? And the emotions are the waves. The waves are high and low, and you don't know what to do. You can't see clear. You just see a light. The light has to be the intention. The moment you have emotions that you want to get rid of, say, okay, my intention for this emotion is to, one, understand it, two, let it go, and three, deactivate it. Do I truly need it anymore? Why do I always go to this emotion? Because it's an energy in motion, energetic motion. So why do I always choose this? I Someone can scream at me in my face and I can choose the emotion of detachment. They're screaming, but I don't accept this energy, it's not mine. Or I can choose the emotion of feeling restless because I feel like they're attacking me. So it's all mindset and perspective. What's your reality? What's your intention? So to be able to detach, you really have to give it an intention. And it takes practice. I'm not saying right away you're just going to be able to do that, but you also have to balance it with a boundary. Well, I'm detached, but right now I want to use the tool of being firm and boundary, so I walk away. That's not my mirror. I decide what my mirrors are, who my mirrors are. This doesn't make me feel good. This makes me want to connect to something I'm not. So why would I stay and watch this? So then you start gaining this strength of understanding why intention is so important. So, to be able to connect to emotions and disconnect from them, which is connecting and disconnecting from energy in motion, it does have a lot to do with who you're surrounded by, where you grew up, what you grew up, what environment you grew up in, because all that, those are the emotions you know. Those are the emotions that you were exposed to. So, what to do with them is exchange them. That's when you ask yourself, I want to get to know new emotions. I want to get to know peace. I want to get to know boundaries. I want to get to know the emotion of detachment. But everything has to be balanced. Again, we don't build rules. We don't say, okay, now every time someone screams, detachment. No, what if it's a stranger and then the other day it's, I don't know, your best friend screaming? Okay, well, detachment is going to look very different on both sides. If it's a stranger, you're just going to walk away and be like, I don't want to remember this. If it's your best friend, then you might say, okay, right now the tool I need is detachment, but this is going in a bit deeper. What am I feeling? Okay, sadness. But does the sadness need the nurturing of being understood or communication or all these things? I can't control her, I can't control him. The reaction I can't control. But what can I understand about myself? And how can I use the tool of detachment with someone that I want to keep in my life? Well, I connected to the tool of boundaries then. And I connected to the tool of compassion and I connected to the tool of self love. Oh, they're teaching me to speak up for myself. Oh, they're teaching me to walk away because usually I would be okay with it. Oh, they're teaching me that I can truly be my authentic self. I don't want this. I don't like this type of exchange in a friendship. So, exchange the emotion. Doesn't mean you're not going to go through it, it just means you learn how to process them. Because usually people want to do something to the emotion. It's like, what do I do with this emotion? What do I do to it? Why am I like this? So don't over identify with anything. Instead, exchange it and understand that emotions are things we're exposed to along the way. Maybe you meet someone very peaceful and you're like, oh, I've never met someone so peaceful. How can I connect to this emotion? And instead of judging yourself of why am I not peaceful? Why am I not like this? Or you know what? I don't believe them. They're not that peaceful. No, it can't be real. Don't connect to judgment. Connect to openness. Open your heart. And I think the most important part of letting go of judgment is not trying to defend patterns that you know hurt you. No one else but you. Because I want to remind everyone we're the ones that carry our consciousness. We're the ones that before going to sleep, we remember everything we've done throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout our lifetime. And at the end of the day, if you judge, that's going to feel heavy. If you don't judge, you're going to understand how divine that story is. And I want everyone to connect to the divinity of it. I want everyone to go out there in the world and not think that the world is going to end, but instead give a co creation of, we can do this as a team. What do we need all together? What do we need to do? How can we learn how to work as a team? How can we learn to listen to one another? How can we learn to agree to disagree? Which is the most important part. Because if everyone's trying to agree, that's not going to happen. We're here to be authentic. What we could agree on is to be different. We get to be different without harming one another. But then that would mean we all have to be very responsible of our own needs, very responsible of our own actions, very responsible of any type of self sabotage. So I invite everyone this week to write down what you might be judging or judging yourself for so you can release it, so you can let it go and set yourself free and truly focus on what you need to be focused. The guides show me how everyone's almost like stretched out. And I think sometimes it has to do with social media, but I can't see social media as a bad thing because it brings us all together. I wouldn't be able to connect with all of you without social media. So it's almost like, how are you stretching yourself out? How are you not making what you have around you enough? Are you paying attention to those people who are truly there giving you love? How are you making them feel like their love is enough, the love they give? I I always say this. I focus a lot on family because it's our core roots. And I've had clients who can't even speak to their parents. And I don't tell them go speak to your parent. No. I just help them understand that no matter who they are, no matter what relationship they want to have with them, either good or bad, whatever, it's not judgmental. Whatever it is that it's best for them and that it fulfills the boundaries they need to be peaceful and shine the brightest fraction of light of God. I always remind them that everyone is a student. And parents are women and men, not just parents. Siblings are women and men. Friends are women and men. Everyone goes through all the emotions. Everyone has had some sort of pain and trauma. We cannot measure them because at the end of the day, they're all meant to be different. And family is the mirror of all the potential. Everything you can be and everything maybe you shouldn't be. So instead of judging, see it as a divine school. Earth is school, but family is this big classroom where you get to connect to everything. And it's so divine. And sometimes those families that teach you what not to be, it's because they're preparing you to create your own family and what to be. And that's a huge blessing because at the end of the day, we are our own ancestors. So the pattern comes from somewhere, and it usually starts from us. So if we chose to change the lineage, let's take that responsibility. No one here is a victim. We can be victims in moments that can happen. And I understand there's very tough moments. I've had many clients by now. I was counting how many readings I've done. I couldn't believe it. The past 4 years, I've met with 1,620 something people, different people. And I thought about the past 4 years and how that's a lot of people. One, I mean, my first 2 years, I was working from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and I would rarely eat. Full blown self sabotage, by the way. But I didn't judge myself. I understood I was not taking care of myself, I was abandoning myself. But the tool of abandonment really showed me how sometimes giving is so fulfilling that I wasn't hungry, I didn't want to do anything else. But then my guides were like, yeah, but your fraction of light is meant to be used in so many ways. So I learned balance. And I've heard so many stories of moments of being a victim, and those moments can be very, very extremely tough. But at the end of the day, the spirit never dies. And that's the most important part. The spirit never dies. The spirit knows best. And maybe the physical body feels the pain or feels the impact. We have to remember physical body has emotional memory. So it's very important to go on walking meditation, dancing meditation, to let go of all that vibration and be very patient. The tool patience is very important for the physical body, but the spirit doesn't die. And you start explaining to the mind You start explaining to the mind, you start giving perspective to the mind, you start giving the healing to the mind because the spirit knows. The spirit does know, but the mind doesn't. When people talk about ego, I see ego very differently. I see ego as a friend who guides us in life to shower, to eat, to be human. And being human is so powerful. We're here to really understand how to use the energy. And so, truly, when it comes to that part of us that does the self-sabotage, that does judge, that does all these things, I don't believe it's ego. My guides show it more as this space that is still lacking light. And that's how I started saying that we needed to activate tools. Because that space that lacks light, all it needs is for you to activate a new tool. And experiencing life helps you do that. It guides you through the motion, through the movement of activating those tools. And it can be in the most beautiful way possible. It all depends on what emotion you want to connect to and why. If you keep connecting to emotions that are uncomfortable, it might be because you really need to learn from them. So pay attention to what you're not learning from them. Now, those moments of victimization, that emotional memory, is sometimes what is needed to activate a certain tool, or sometimes what it's needed to have more compassion. And it's not easy for me to say, by the way. Sometimes there's scenarios where I have to say something and I'm like, this, me, Alexia's like, this does not sound fair at all. But then as the channeler, it's like, no, it makes sense. I get it. I see it. I feel it. So it's about understanding that we've been on a consequence quest for a while now because we are our ancestors. So if we give the amount of love that this world needs, the amount of compassion, the amount of direction, the amount of responsibility, the amount of consequence, true consequence, because a true consequence, the tool is I believe in you. I have many clients as well that tell me, no, Alexia, I can't do it. I don't know how I would. I believe in you. Why wouldn't you? You're a fraction of light of God. Why wouldn't you be able to? And being in that friction, in that uncomfortable moment of I don't know myself in that space is the most powerful thing. So if you feel like you are in that space of I don't know myself there, I've never been there, I've never tried this, always remember the spirit doesn't die. So as long as you understand that your fraction of light is abundant and wealthy, and wealth is how you carry your heart, how you communicate with others, how you connect. You're not chasing, you're not like, oh, I need to manifest this now because it's my value. Instead, you're like, wait, but I'm connected to this fraction of light. I'm just making it fun. Everything works out. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm just saying it works out. And you get exactly what you needed. It's fulfillment, it's fulfilled. Your quest is fulfilled. So I invite everyone to let go of judgment. I think it's necessary. I think it's that would really help us not be so divided, not be so against everything and black and white, but instead walk in the gray where there is color and there is faith and hope and just unconditional love. Because just like there's wise people, there's also people who need to learn in a tougher way, and that's okay. We're no one to say how it should be learned or shouldn't be. We're not judges. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, Truly, I'm very, very grateful that you're all here, that you take your time to listen to me and listen to this voice of a sick woman. So, thank you so much. And I can't wait to talk next Monday. Mondays are going to be our conversation days. So, stay tuned for Mondays. I'm not sure if I'll always have an exact time yet, but Mondays are our days. So, thank you again. And I'm sending so much love and light to everyone.